Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us here at Railbookers this morning for our live webinar. This morning, we're going to be looking really at last-minute holidays still available for 2024. And I'm also going to take the opportunity to introduce a few of the things that we do a little bit differently here at Railbookers for those of you who are perhaps newer to our brand. So thanks very much for joining us. My name is Anna Davis. I'm the Director of Partnership Marketing here at Railbookers Group, and I'll be your host for our time together this morning. Probably going to take somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes to give you all of the latest updates. And there will be some time for questions at the end, so please do put those in the question box as we go through. So for those of you who are perhaps not as familiar with Railbookers, I just wanted to touch on a few things that make us a little bit different, and as a refresher for everybody. So just a few things I'd like to point out from this slide here. Firstly, the one-stop shop nature of what we do, and we're going to talk about that as we go through the presentation this morning. But we connect the dots between the train tickets, the hotels, sightseeing, transfers, and more. We can also do all of this for travel from today all the way up to 2 years out. So we are on sale now until the 19th of June 2026, and our website is priced accordingly for that. As we also go through the presentation today, we'll talk a lot about flexibility, a lot about choice, and that applies to the level of hotel accommodation, the level of train accommodation, whether that's first class upgrades, for example. There's a huge amount of choice that your customers have to really build the itinerary that they're looking for. And also, the last thing on this slide that I'd point out is that we're very much here to help you. We know that these are not the sorts of holidays that you're necessarily booking day in, day out every week. So we know that you have questions, we know that your customers will have questions, and we do offer a three-way calling support system. So if you've got a customer that has a quote with us, an inquiry with us, they have questions, you have questions, we all get on the phone, the three elements together, and we can answer those questions directly from the customer and then leave you to close the sale. So if you would like to take advantage of that at any point in the booking process, please do mention that to your account executive at the time of booking. So just wanted to share also with you our latest network map, which really shows how far we can take your customers around the world. Railbookers historically is focused on sort of Western Europe and North America, but we are going further and further afield now with some of our latest product launches to South Africa, to South America, and beyond. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the presentation. But just to give you an idea of how far your customers can travel with us around the world, this is a really good starting point to refer to. So as I've mentioned, we connect the dots. We're very much a one-stop shop tour operator for trains, hotels, sightseeing, transfers. We're also ATOL protected, so we can take care of flight bookings for you as well. And perhaps you did know, perhaps you didn't know, we can also start your customers' holiday from any UK rail station. So wherever they're located in the UK, we can add the UK rail tickets from their local station to start their holiday. We have about 4,000 itineraries built today on our website, but none of those are set in stone, and we can adjust those in any number of ways. We're going to take a look at some of those ways that we can do that now before we have a look at some of those last-minute trips booking right now. So, as you know, the train takes you to the city centre. So all of our the train stations are centrally located, meaning that customers can get off and make the most of their time away, arriving centrally into these amazing towns and cities. And we have a range of accommodation to suit every customer's requirement, whether they're looking to stay around the train station and not have to travel very far from there, or whether they're looking to travel into different parts of the city. There's a huge amount of choice available for them. What I'd also point out is this screenshot here of the map is taken from our interactive map on our website, that you can look by destination and really do a deep dive into the locations of the hotels, the sightseeing, based on the train location as well. So do take a look at that. It's a really good way to do a deep dive into some of these destinations and really see where certain things are located with respect to the train station and other amenities. We also accommodate lots of different travel styles, and I think this adds to the sort of flexibility and choice that Railbookers trips do offer customers. So you do have, we cater to a range of different customer types, and you'll have customers in mind, I'm sure, where these apply. So whether that's traveling on some of the famous trains, for example, so with us you can book the Glacier Express, the Bernina Express, really iconic trains in Switzerland and elsewhere in the world, the Rocky Mountaineer in Canada, for example. We also take care of luxury rail, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later as well. But from the Orient Express to the Garn across Australia, if you've got customers that are looking for luxury, we can also help you with that. You've got customers that are traveling on a river cruise, for example, and perhaps want to spend a little bit of time getting to that port, or after they've disembarked, want to stay a little longer in some of those destinations, consider adding a Railbookers holiday into their itinerary, because lots of customers we're seeing are choosing to do that, to stay a little longer and explore a little further. We also have a huge amount of iconic once in a lifetime trips, and that means different things to different people. Some of that will be luxury, some of that will be adventurous, some of that will be exploring slightly more off the beaten track destinations as well. There's a huge range of trips included there. Traveling overnight by sleeper train, also a really popular option for customers at the moment. And I'd also just draw your attention to the Railbookers signature product range as well, which adds lots of different experiences into some of our best-selling itineraries. So if customers are looking for something a little bit extra, some different experiences whilst they're away, perhaps staying in a hotel located right at the top of the mountain, in Pilatus, for example, blending their own wine in Bordeaux, lots of different experiences that are included in those Railbookers signatures holidays if customers are looking for that sort of above and beyond experience whilst they're away. We also cater for short breaks, so if customers are looking to travel for just a few nights, we have a good range of trips across Europe for that. And of course, if you're looking for inspiration, or customers think they'd like to travel somewhere by train and not quite sure where to go, our most popular range will be a really good starting point for them to consider some of our most popular and best sellers. We know that the journey is part of the experience, and that's part of the appeal of traveling by train. So, just a few images here of some of those onboard experiences with the Glacier Express, the Rocky Mountaineer, the Royal Scotsman. It's a really unique way to travel. Customers obviously see more as they travel through the land rather than over it. And it's a really communal experience as well. Lots of opportunity to talk to fellow passengers and to connect with people on the train, as well as, of course, the people that customers are traveling with. What you'll also start to see, hopefully, more on our website as you explore it a little bit further, is the option to add on additional sightseeing and activities. So lots of our packages come with excursion sightseeing included as standard, but we also have the option to upgrade some of that to perhaps private sightseeing, small group sightseeing. Perhaps they're particularly interested in food, they can do secret food tours in lots of our destinations. So there's lots of things that they can add on to their holiday, and you'll find lots of information on our website. Here is the page, for example, showcasing our sightseeing and activities in Italy. So just in the main navigation, you go to sightseeing and activities, then you can search by a particular country and then by a particular region or destination to see all of the sightseeing and activity options that we have available there. Touched on this a little bit already, but don't forget that we can change the style and rating of accommodation throughout the trip. And this is a really important piece because customers often ask us for this directly. We can check, we cater for 3, 4, and 5-star properties in most of our cities and destinations, but that doesn't mean that has to be the level that customers stay at the whole trip. They can, of course, but if they are perhaps traveling for a special occasion and want the 5-star hotel in Venice, but would prefer 3-star properties for the rest of the trip, we can absolutely do that. And it can be varied across the duration of the holiday in all of the different destinations. So again, just bear that in mind when you're perhaps talking to customers about the flexibility that we can offer, and that is also a big piece of it. What you'll see on our website when you look at particular itineraries on the day-by-day options is that the accommodation options in all of those destinations are featured on the website, so you can have a look at the hotels that we suggest. Some of those are categorized by a staff pick, by the luxury option, by the wow factor option. But you'll see on the website under each day in each destination the suggested hotels that we have. That doesn't mean that that's everything. And if customers have got a particular hotel in mind, by all means ask. But those are our suggestions based on our experience in those key destinations that we sell day after day. I also think, just to point out as well, it's a really good way to join multiple cities, multiple destinations in one trip. We like to think of it a little bit as cruising by land. So you can really join the dots very easily between different countries, different rail systems, all in one call with Railbookers, because we take all of that complexity away from you. You don't have to worry about the release dates for certain networks, the different languages, the different rail systems. We do all of that in one call and take care of all of the different countries rail across the world. So, wanted to share with you some of the itineraries that we're seeing still booking, still available very much for 2024 travel. And the five holidays that I'm going to share with you this morning are all trips that have been booked in the last 4 weeks for departing in the next 60 days. So this is really sort of prime holidays in demand to travel right now that you can be taking advantage of, promoting, sharing with your customer base to get some more bookings in for 2024 departures. We've seen Vienna be a really popular destination for us this year, and this is just one of the itineraries that we have that incorporates Vienna. We also have a sort of multiple city, Vienna, Prague, Budapest, Munich and Vienna, lots of ways to incorporate it. But we also see this Vienna city break to be really, really popular at the moment. And that's traveling from London to Amsterdam directly on the Eurostar service, and then traveling on an overnight sleeper from Amsterdam directly to Vienna. Customers then spend 2 nights in Vienna, or can obviously extend it if they'd like to stay for longer. That is based with hotel accommodation, of course, on a bed and breakfast basis. And then whilst they're in Vienna, we include the sightseeing passes for all customers to visit, for example, the Schönbrunn Palace, to have a Danube river cruise, to have a hop-on, hop-off pass for the city, and visit really all of the major sites and attractions in the city. And then it's based on this particular version by flying back from Vienna to London. But if they'd like to do that by train, then that's also an option. What I would point out is the most popular combination of travel for our European holidays is to take the train from local station to travel out by Eurostar and across the continent by train, to explore on holiday, of course, by rail, but then to fly back at the end. If customers would like to, they can also fly in and out of destination and use the train in the country when they're there, or they can also do a round trip by rail and do the whole thing by train. So again, lots of flexibility, lots of options, depending on their preference. What I'd also mention is that depending on where customers are based in the UK, of course, if they are in the southeast and can very easily reach Eurostar at St Pancras, then we'd probably have them departing on a sort of morning departure from St Pancras. But if they're a little bit further afield, then we have a number of options. We can either bring them down to London the night before and overnight them in a hotel located pretty close to St Pancras for ease, to travel then the next day, or we may alter the itinerary slightly and take them part of the way, overnight them perhaps on this occasion in Amsterdam, and then take the sleeper the following night. Again, lots of flexibility depending on their preferred time of travel, where they'd like to break the journey, to really make that work based on their location. Let's go to Italy next, and Italy really always in the top 3 destinations for Railbookers. But this particular itinerary has been particularly popular recently, and this combines Milan, Florence, Cinque Terre, and Rome. So this is based, as you can see here, on flights in and out of Milan and then back out from Rome, and traveling by train in between. So traveling to Florence, first of all, to Cinque Terre, then down to Rome and flying home. You'll see on the right-hand side, huge amount of inclusions. So not just, of course, the rail travel, the hotel accommodation with breakfast included, but also a good number of sightseeing activities as well. Small group tour in Florence, small walking tour and entrance to the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, the meet and greet service in Cinque Terre, And I'll just touch on Cinque Terre in a moment. I'm really sorry, I need to blow my nose because I've got terrible hay fever at the moment, so just bear with me. So whilst customers are in Cinque Terre, and I've done this visit myself last year, we have lots of fantastic sightseeing that they'll do. So they'll go and make pesto with a local in Cinque Terre. We also do wine tasting in a local venue as well. It's a really, really great way to visit the various villages, making use of that Cinque Terre card whilst they're there. And they'll also stay in apartments in Monterosa, in the heart of Cinque Terre, so they can really live like a local and explore the region that way. You know, buy food from the market, cook for themselves if they wish. Lots of great restaurants there as well. They'll then travel on to Rome, and we have entrance to the Vatican museums included, Sistine Chapel. They'll visit the Colosseum, of course. Lots to explore in Rome with the sightseeing that we include, and then they'll fly back to the UK. Portugal, also incredibly popular at the moment. Typically, we would see Spain and Portugal on the rise at this time of year for late bookings for 2024 or for the summer departures. But we're seeing particularly Lisbon, Porto, and the Douro River be a really popular itinerary for us this year. Again, this is based on flights in and out of Portugal and travelling by train when they're there. We can also alter that and have them rail in if they prefer. Again, you'll see on the right-hand side what we're including here. It's based on 3 nights accommodation with breakfast in Lisbon and Porto, and then 1 night in the heart of the Douro Valley as well. Whilst they're in Lisbon and Porto, we'll include a lot of sightseeing. So they'll have a Lisbon card, which gets them into the main museums and attractions. They'll have a day trip out to Sintra and Cascais. They have a hop-on, hop-off sightseeing ticket in Porto to explore. They'll also do a river cruise, a day out on the river in the Douro from Porto to Pinhao, including lunch. And then they'll also have a wine tasting included in that area as well. So a really good combination of sort of city stays and some river time as well in that beautiful Douro Valley. It's a really great combination, this itinerary, and ticks a lot of boxes for what customers are looking for. Which is clearly why it's selling pretty well for 2024. So one to consider promoting, perhaps. I'm going to end the last 2, I think, itineraries are sort of multiple city combinations that perhaps might not be forefront when we think about where Railbookers can take customers. But Hamburg and Stockholm is a really popular combination at the moment. Lots of customers use the routing from London up to Hamburg to break the journey to then travel up further into Scandinavia, in this case up to Stockholm, but we'll also combine it with stays in Copenhagen, in Gothenburg, and even up into Norway as well. So this is based on a Eurostar out to Brussels, train up to Hamburg, a night in Hamburg, and then travelling up to Stockholm for 2 nights, and then a flight back to the UK. So again, just a good way to access that part of the world by train, perhaps not one that, again, most people think of when they think of traveling by train, but this is a really popular one at the moment as customers look to access Scandinavia on the tracks. And sticking with Germany, Cologne and Berlin are a really good combo and really easy to do by train. Again, just demonstrates how easy it is to travel between city centre, multi-country by train. This is taking Eurostar from London to Brussels, onward on the high-speed network to Cologne, with 2 nights stay in Cologne. Whilst they're there, they have the hop-on, hop-off tour with a Rhine River cruise, and then they'll travel up to Berlin for 2 nights, and then fly back to the UK. Just wanted also to remind you that we do go further, and I touched on this at the beginning of the presentation with the map, but I just wanted also to mention some of the longer haul, further afield destinations that we can also take your customers. So in the last 6 months or so, we've launched South Africa with Rovos Rail. We also take customers to India with the Golden Triangle itineraries, but also some of the luxury trains like the Maharajas Express. We also take customers to Australia, travelling on the Garn, the Indian Pacific, the Queensland Explorer. Our sister brand, Amtrak Vacations, really replicates what Railbookers does, that flexible, independent travel, but using the rails in the US. So Amtrak has just about 500 stations across the US, and all of those can be made into tailor-made FIT itineraries with us as well. So if you've got customers going to the US, do think of us for that. Southeast Asia is absolutely an area that we're growing as well, and we're about to launch some additional product there. So do keep your eyes posted for more updates there. And most recently, of course, we've just launched South America with a number of itineraries, including Machu Picchu, the Andean Explorer, and even a private chartered cruise out to the Galapagos, combining some of those itineraries as well. So do have a look at our website at some of those additional destinations that perhaps you're not as familiar with from a Railbookers point of view, because we can take your customers to many, many places around the world. I touched on this a little bit as well, but just wanted to mention our luxury holidays that we have, and we do have a digital brochure on the website to sort of review these in a little bit more detail. But we take the luxury rail journeys. We work with all of the major luxury rail companies around the world and add some of the additional routes that we have with the national operators to really expand those holidays to allow your customers to travel for further, explore more. So perhaps they'll take the Orient Express down to Venice, but we will then combine that with traveling down to Sicily or the Amalfi Coast, or perhaps traveling back through Switzerland on the Glacier and Bernina. So really expanding that trip and making it even more special. The same can be said with Rocky Mountaineer. So lots of our itineraries actually include traveling across Canada on Via Rail to start with, and then picking up Rocky Mountaineer to finish the trip over to Vancouver, for example, and really combining those two together is a really, really successful way to see Canada from the track. So again, do bear that in mind from a sort of luxury requirement. If you've got customers that are traveling for a special occasion, anniversary, want to see the world a little bit differently, do have a look at those luxury itineraries there, because there are some absolutely fantastic ways to explore, not least traveling by train for 80 days by luxury train, which is just the most fabulous itinerary to take inspiration from. On your screens there, you'll see a number of links around the presentation taking you to our website, for example, and on there you'll find lots of really good starting information on all of the itineraries that I've talked about today. You'll have the day-by-day itinerary, the route map, the inclusions, highlights, and also really importantly for you, that pricing for the next 24 months. So if you have a look at Venice, Florence, Rome, for example, on our website, you'll see the lead-in price. You also have the available dates tab, which I'll just circle here. If you were to click on that, it would show you all of the pricing for the next 24 months. And from there, you can also submit an instant quote. So if you were to press the easy quote button, you can submit a quote request on that particular itinerary to our sales team, and they will build that and then call you back. So you don't have to call in. You can submit that instant quote that way if you prefer. If anything that I've talked about today has made you think that you'd quite like to do one of these trips as well, do bear in mind that we do have a discounted rate for travel agents traveling with us. You can really design your own fam trips, what we like to say. You and up to 3 people traveling with you will receive a 20% discount on that trip. So do have a look. That's also in our travel agent toolbox, and I'll come to that in a moment. But do have a think about that if that's something you would like to take advantage of. You'll see again on the console around you that there will be a link to the travel agent toolbox. There you'll find lots of information from our digital brochures, some of our network maps, some social post content, additional training videos to watch, as well as links to that travel agent discount form as well to get you started there. But with that, I'll just remind you that we are available on the phone on 0203 780 2222. You'll find us at railbookers.co.uk. And at this point, I will open it up to any questions that you may have. So feel free to continue to put those in the questions box. And I can see that there are a few people typing there, so I'll just give you a few minutes to look through that. Okay, I see a question around hotels and location of those. So let me just take that again. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have a huge amount of choice in terms of our hotels, and we find that customers will have a preference not just from a location point of view, from a star rating point of view, as I mentioned also, but also sometimes in terms of the style, the decor, and we do contract with a huge number of different hotel providers to give that choice and flexibility. So really it's down to you sharing with us the sort of hotel that your customer is used to, wants to travel and stay in this time. And we will find a hotel based on our experience of those destinations that suits your customer's requirements. So the more information you have on that, the better. I also see a question about arranging assistance for customers when they're traveling. So that's a great question. I'll point out that all of our holidays are independent. Okay, so the customers are not traveling as an escorted group. There isn't a tour leader on these. They're traveling independently under their own steam. That doesn't mean that we can't, of course, arrange assistance. And with the train companies worldwide, we work with all of them to arrange required assistance in the train stations for customers that perhaps need a ramp to access the trains or might need assistance with carrying their luggage, that sort of thing. We can also arrange private transfers from the train stations to the hotels, but really, again, it depends on the sort of assistance that customers are looking for and anticipate. So, again, that's just a question of communication at the beginning of the inquiry so that we can really understand that. So, if you've got any further questions on that, do let me know. I see another question about a bookable day trip with Belmond in the UK for Christmas. That's a great question. We don't at this time actually sell the Northern Belle or the sort of day trip excursions with Belmond. So our coverage with Belmond is the Orient Express, the Rocky Mountaineer, the Eastern and Oriental in Malaysia, and also the Andean Explorer in Peru. We would, sorry, also seeing a question about creating an instant quote if the starting city is not listed in pop-up on instant quote. So that's a great question. So there are several versions of the form, and if you were to go on the instant quote request in the top tab, I think, not on the individual day-by-day itinerary, but there's another sort of more general instant quote route you can do that way. You can sort of create a tailor-made request there. Equally, also very quick to call us. So if you've got something that perhaps you want to book but you're not seeing, just give us a call. We've got pretty short wait times at the moment, so possibly easier just to give us a call and have us help you that way. But we do have a tailor-made section on that instant quote request as well. Thanks for the question. So with that, I will leave you to the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us here at Railbookers this morning. Appreciate your time. And do let us know if you have any questions. Again, we're on 0203 780 2222. Do have a look at some of those links on the console around you, taking you to our website, the Travel Agent Toolbox, and other bits and pieces. Look forward to seeing you on another live webinar very shortly. Thanks again for your time, everybody. Bye-bye.